The following is a brief on the SISE, the Sensitive Information Sharing Environment. So what is the SISE? The SISE is a legal framework that provides approved and vetted users central access to a trusted central place for planning and information sharing. Along with that comes a trusted community of people who plan, conduct calls, produce products and tools. It provides a bridge to regional state EOCs. It provides a vehicle for faster innovation in applied research and technology, as well as risk analytics. And it sustains a planning framework between multiple states and the private sector to address common operational issues in disaster management now, but in the future, security, cybersecurity, and other regional incidents. So how did we get here? The consortium was formed in 2005 to help multiple states work together with the private sector. In 2012, Hurricane Sandy struck and tested the planning capabilities, but also the data sharing capabilities. And it was during Sandy that private sector provided data that helped the federal government and the states respond to Sandy by quickly locating open and closed gas stations, fuel stations, hotels, pharmacies, and so forth. In 2013, the Fleet Working Group was started under the All Hazards Consortium. And in December 2013, the Fleet Movement Initiative was started with states, which brought the consortium into the information sharing world with multiple states. In 2015, a pilot project was started with DHS and their partner TSCP to form an information sharing pilot using a PIV-I card. Many of you involved with that remember that. PIV-I is a standard used for security and information sharing, and that laid the bedrock for what SISE was to become. In 2016, DHS issued a grant that provided resources to sustain the working group and then begin forming the foundation technically for the SISE, as well as the legal, policy, and process framework. In 2017, all of that was tested during hurricane season. The SISE and the partnership with the AHC and DHS and FEMA became central to the recovery and response efforts. Following that storm, in January 2018, the consortium sent a letter to DHS and FEMA leadership making recommendations which are being implementing now. And DHS has renewed their commitment long-term to support and sustain the SISE and integrate it further within other federal agencies. So what's ready to go now within the SISE? Well, the people are already in working groups and committees working on a number of different topics. SISE employs a very sophisticated identity vetting and validation process, which then allows people to access the SISE Appstore, which then links them to multiple apps, operational guides, and third-party websites. The ORL model is a new standard designed to help decision makers have higher confidence in the data sets. So by using a standard developed by both government and private sector, data is ranked between a 1 and a 4. 1 is good, 4 needs improvement. They're all good. You can use any kind of data you want. But this allows decision makers to get a better handle on what kind of data am I looking at so I can have more confidence in my decisions. As you see products in the App Store, you'll see them ranked through the ORL model. Probably the most heavily used app is the Daily Disaster Dashboard, which was started in 2016, and it's been used in every single storm since 2016 on the East Coast. This is a tool that allows us to get 30 to 40 states, 50 states if we need to, a dozen federal agencies and the private sector on the same page with regards to mutual assistance fleet movement, state declarations, weather, traffic, and so forth. They all have their own tools, but this lets everybody synchronize at least in one place. It provides layer for transportation, ICE. This one shows all the people that rent generators and provide generators. There's hundreds of data sets that are in there. Here's one on bridges, low height bridges around the country. All the hospitals have been mapped. DHS also is helping us put together specific dashboards that might look at a specific issue and map traffic, bridges, food stores, hospitals, all within a certain area. But that's not what really makes this tool unique. The most unique part of this tool is its collaborative capability. Working within the SISE legal framework, public and private sectors, as well as federal agencies, can purchase a license and begin sharing information within the SISE environment, but that information never leaves their firewall. By using the SISE license, it allows users to basically have private license-to-license information sharing that can be kept away from competitors, that can be kept private between states, that can work specifically between a vendor or a provider of information, or can be worked in general. This allows point-to-point or point-to-multipoint data sharing through the SISE, with information never leaving the corporate firewall. This was a huge part of the SISE framework when it was begun. Operational guides are also available today. One is on the U.S.-Canadian border crossing to reduce delays at the Canadian border. This is still being worked and developed to go to the next level. The Storm Central website is also another popular place where we centralize all the state declarations and waivers as well as federal declarations and waivers. The EasyPass toll station guides can reduce delays at toll stations, not just with EasyPass, but our next revision will include all toll systems in the US and Canada. Also, there are dozens of third-party solutions and apps that are out there that cover a variety of different data sets and sources. This is done in partnership with DHS and multiple federal agencies. This is data typically not available to but 2 or 3 or 4 people at a time. Now, through the SISE, we open it up to people that have been vetted and are qualified SISE users. So what's under development right now? There's a number of planning, exercise, and operational initiatives. I won't go through all of them, but there are dozens of these, all being worked by individuals to make something faster, share information better, and solve a specific problem. What can be added to the SISE? Most of the applications we look at, use cases, are done in the black sky mode, and we're looking to now get committees together that can work on blue sky day use cases. We're working with a partnership right now with DHS and the SISE community on joint analytics, where the private sector could have DHS help them with some data analytics, but through a secure environment. There's mutual assistance agreements now being drafted to support the sharing of drone resources, and they're looking at cyber and other threats and trends. And they want to address more active shooter type of use cases, maybe do analytics on public unrest and social media threats. DHS has such capability, but they have no mechanism really to get into it with the private sector, and the SISE provides them that. So where is SISE going? In the near future, you'll see federated adoption of the SISE ORL standard, integration of the SISE into the DHS National Infrastructure Coordination Center in FEMA, DOT, DOE, and the states, continued development of 30-second decision-making tools, address more use cases, especially in the urban areas, and then deepen the data content so we just don't know where something is and if it's open or closed, but do they have inventory there or not? Is that pharmacy open, and does it have insulin, and how much? Does it have fuel, and how much? That's where they want to go with the SISE. So lastly, the real-world coordination example was in 2017. You'll see the SISE up in the upper right-hand corner. The SISE played an important role behind the curtain, coordinating with EEI and the electric sector agencies and trade associations to coordinate fleet movement around the U.S. and across the Canadian border. This became particularly important in Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands when you had multiple fleet movements going at different times of the year. The consortium also sat in on all of the state and Texas, Florida and Texas state briefings, and provided that information back to SISE users many times with 30 minutes to an hour heads up. So they got the information actually quicker. The SISE and the AHC worked with NEMA and IEM, as well as DHS, FEMA, and FEMA Logistics to work out specific issues. One case was we had utility fleets trying to get into Florida that were caught in traffic jams that were miles long. Within 5 minutes, the SISE had contacted the Georgia State Police, and they had arranged escorts for those fleets to get around the traffic jam. It didn't work out perfectly, but it proved the case that working operationally, government and private sector can overcome anything. So with DHS's continued support and commitment, this provides a unique opportunity for the private sector to mobilize, become part of this, and begin developing unique solutions, share information, conduct analytics, and develop new solutions to problems that plague them all the time across multiple sectors with states during disasters and non-disaster times. The long-term strategy for the SISE is simple, is to provide a framework that can connect the private sector and states along with feds that can do operational coordination, and in the blue sky day, conduct data analytics, modeling, exercises, planning, and simulations year-round. The big idea here is to continue to build this bridge where we can connect operators in public and private sector to work on issues, fix the easy ones, and never have to repeat them again, which leaves time then to address the harder ones to reduce threats and risk to the critical infrastructure of our country.